Hi everyone, and welcome to my studio. In the last video, I showed you how I put together my new art journal. Today, we're going to start working on it. Now, I'm going to take you along for the ride, and just so you know, I work in my art journal completely intuitively. I do like to start off with a color scheme and an affirmation, something that I keep in mind as I work. Today, the affirmation that came to me and what I really need to hear is I am resilient. And so I created this little printable card to keep in front of me as I work, just to remind me of the color palette and the intention, the affirmation that I'm working with today. But other than that, I have no idea what's going to happen on this page, and that's the way I like it. I love to work intuitively. I love to follow my feelings, my emotions in the moment, my curiosity, the things that call to me, the things that pull me towards using a particular art supply. I will say that working like this, I make a lot of messes and I make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. The only rule I have in my art journal is that a page is not complete until I love every single inch of it. And that means that I very often cover things up and work on top of it, which is fantastic because the more layers that I have in my journal, the happier I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in fast forward so that you can see me work through all of the layers. And I want you to just sit back and enjoy the process and let it inspire you to work in your own journal or with your own artwork or whatever it is that helps you to feel creative. I'm going to talk a little bit about resilience as you watch me work in this journal. We are all resilient. So much more resilient than we often give ourselves credit for. I'm going to start grabbing the first thing that feels good to me, and I'm going to start working on this page. As I worked on this spread, I thought about the power of resilience. And I'm really glad that resilience was my topic because I really struggled with this page. I needed to remind myself that I am resilient, that I can do this, because you're going to see me struggle. You're going to see me go through what I call that ugly middle stage where nothing feels like it's working. I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just not coming together. It's not gelling. I don't understand why I'm even doing this. And yet the fact that I had my little color palette and my affirmation, that's what kept pulling me back and reminding myself that I am resilient, that I can do this, that I have done this before countless times, that I have been resilient in other areas of my life. That kept me showing up. And I want to encourage you to remind yourself that you are resilient as well, that you can do hard things, even when it feels like you can't. So I went on this journey with this page where I thought deeply about how I can harness this incredible force that is within all of us. And along the way, I used the transformative power of art journaling as my compass. It's such a beautiful creative outlet, and it allows me to explore my emotions, but also my challenges and my victories. When something feels like it's finally working, when I love a part of a page, it feels like such a weight off my shoulders and such an achievement, such an accomplishment. It feels great. But let's talk about resilience. And in the process, let me explain how this spread ended up looking a lot like a secret garden, which is a phrase that's been coming up for me again and again and again in my real life. I've been encountering it everywhere. And I created this journal page, and it wasn't until my best friend pointed out to me, hey, this is a secret garden page, that I even realized that's where I had taken it. But it makes sense in retrospect. I didn't create any of it intentionally. You'll see that I'm working completely intuitively. I am just grabbing the next art supply that appeals to me, the next logical or illogical things. Very often it's actually the illogical art supplies that keep making an appearance, and that's where I mess things up and that's where I have to layer. But in the end, I love what I ended up with. But we'll get there. Let's take a step back. You see, resilience is a lot like a flower, deeply rooted in the soil of our being. It's the ability to bounce back from adversity, to grow through challenges, and to thrive even in the most difficult of circumstances. But how do we know if we're resilient? How can we tell if we possess this remarkable quality, beyond just listening to me tell you that you do and believing me? Let's say you don't. That's okay. Resilience is that quiet voice inside of you that says, I can face this. I can do this. I've done it before. Or maybe I haven't done it before in this exact way, but I've done it in other ways. I have shown up. I can show up again. And we can say this to ourselves even when we feel broken, even when we feel defeated. It's about embracing our vulnerability, recognizing our imperfections, and still choosing to fight for our dreams. And that's why I think art journaling is such a powerful tool, because it can help us uncover and nurture this resilience within ourselves. It can help us do it in a way that feels safe. If this page hadn't worked out for me, if I ended up taking it all the way to what I thought was its logical conclusion, and I really didn't like it, that would be okay. Nobody would ever have to see it. I could gesso over the whole thing and start over again. Or I could just glue these 2 pages together. Or I could just leave it as it is. Although knowing me, I don't like to be faced with something that reminds me that I failed. And you know what? That's okay too. So it's okay to cover things up in your art journal. It's okay to keep trying it and keep going back to it, which is why I said at the beginning that my only rule in my art journal is that I have to love all of it. And when I say I have to love all of it, I don't mean that it all has to look pretty. I don't mean that it all has to look gorgeous and aesthetically pleasing and Instagram ready. I mean that it has to resonate with my soul. And maybe what resonates with my soul is grungy and dirty and quote unquote ugly by society standards. That's okay, as long as I love it, because it's my art journal, it's my practice, it's my process, just like it is yours. So when you're creating, I want you to think in terms of following the things that you love, following your curiosity. In this case right here, I wanted to add black and then put yellow on top of it. I don't know why I did that. That piece there is going to go away entirely. But now that I'm editing this video and I'm looking at it, it looks so much like a beehive. If I had seen that, perhaps I would have taken this page in a different direction. Maybe my intuition was telling me that resilience is like that busy little bee that moves from flower to flower and then still ends up back at her hive. Maybe that would have been a lovely metaphor too. That's not where this page ended up, and I didn't see it as I was working on it. And in fact, I just thought, oh man, here I go. I'm messing it up again. I don't understand why I'm putting black and yellow and creating so much contrast on the page when it doesn't seem to fit there. And so this is the part where I ended up really struggling. But let's go back to that metaphor of flowers. Imagine a garden filled with a variety of beautiful blooms, each representing a different aspect of our lives. Some flowers stand tall and proud, while others are more delicate and fragile. Each one is unique, and yet they're all connected through the same soil and nourishment. You see how that metaphor could have worked for bees too? Each one is unique, and yet they're all connected. I think it's so interesting how our inner voice, how our intuition sometimes leads us to these elements, these metaphors, these symbols that we have all around us. And very often we don't see them. I know I am apparently terrible at seeing when those metaphors pop up in my life, which is why I think art journaling is such a good practice for me, because it forces me to slow down and take a good look at the symbols that keep coming up for me again and again and again, and really look into why that is. Why are they coming up? What is my inner voice trying to tell me? What are the symbols that keep showing up for me? And what message do they have for me? So in this garden we were talking about, we find our resilience. Like the flowers that push through the cracks in the pavement, we also have the ability to grow and thrive no matter where we find ourselves, no matter what our surroundings look like. And when we nurture our resilience, just as we tend to our garden, we become stronger, we become more vibrant, we're ready to face the storms that life might bring. Art journaling plays a vital role in fostering this resilience for me. By engaging in this creative process, I can explore my deepest emotions, my fears, my dreams, and so can you. This practice allows us to tap into our inner resources and discover the strength that lies there, especially when we've forgotten that we do, in fact, have that strength inside of us, that it's always there, just waiting to be tapped into. Art journaling, then, when you allow it to become that guide for you, it also becomes your sanctuary. It becomes a safe space where you can truly connect with yourself and find your resilience. And as you delve into the depths of your resilience, you must remember that, like a flower, it's an ever-evolving process. Your journey is not linear, but rather it's a series of twists and turns and growth spurts. It's this continuous cycle of renewal and transformation. And art journaling, my friends, is the catalyst for this ongoing metamorphosis. It's essential to recognize that our resilience is not just about overcoming external challenges, but it's also about our internal growth. It's about confronting our inner critic, embracing self-compassion, and accepting that we are worthy of love and success. When we can truly say to ourselves, I am the woman behind the princess, and you'll see that that is actually the quote that I ended up using in this art journal page in the end. When you can say that to yourself, you know you've harnessed the power of your resilience. What does that even mean? For me, the phrase, I am the woman behind the princess, signifies that I am the force, the strength, the determination that drives my personal journey. It's an acknowledgement of my true self, the one who perseveres even when the world sees only the facade that I might present. And it's interesting because maybe we don't mean to present a facade, but there is always a part of us that we keep close, that we keep hidden from others, because it's vulnerable, because it's ours. But that vulnerable part is also the strong part. That is the part of us that fuels that resilience and that determination, and that keeps us going. So when the world might look at you and see only one thing, know that you are so much more, and that your resilience comes from that part of you, that deep part of you inside, that is the genuine person behind the facade that the world sees. I use the phrase princess because this girl here reminded me of a princess. She looked like a princess. I liked her cute little dress, but the way she's holding on to that flower with so much care and tenderness made me think of the way that she might be holding on to the part of her that is just as vulnerable, just as tender, and just as sweet. So you can see that I allowed my intuition to take me in so many directions as I was working on this piece. There are so many pieces of collage that you can't see. You don't know they're there, but they are. And those layers add to the story. I thought I was going to use the word a legacy, and I didn't. It didn't end up fitting at all. But that's okay, because even just by putting it on the page, it gave me a new direction. It gave me a new place to go. When I started playing with these inks and they started spreading everywhere, I thought, oh my gosh, here I go again. I have messed it up. And I walked away for a little while, and then I came back and I looked at how that splotch of ink just created a bigger bloom, a more beautiful bloom. And I was reminded that everything is working out exactly the way it's supposed to. That this whole process, it's such a great metaphor for life. It's messy and it's unwieldy and it's unpredictable. And it forces me to let go of control. And oh boy, do I ever like control. I really, really like control. But I can't do that in my art journal. I have to let go, and I have to trust myself to figure it out, to keep coming back, to keep showing my resilience to myself, because nobody else is watching. Well, you're watching, and thank you for that. But nobody else really cares whether this art journal page turns out. And by turns out, I mean whether it becomes something that I ever share with anyone else. because just by showing up, I have gotten what I needed out of this process. I have proven to myself that I am strong enough to keep working through something that is not working until it is. Now, I'd like to invite you to take the next step in your resilience journey and in your art journaling journey. To help you, I've created a free resource called the Ultimate Art Journaling Idea Generator, and it offers 100 creative sparks for captivating art journal pages. These are not 100 techniques, step by step. You don't have to feel overwhelmed. They are just lists of various things that you can try in your art journal when you feel stuck. When it feels like that resilient part of yourself has just gone and walked away, you can use any of the suggestions that I offer in this free guide to get that intuition kickstarted again, to get you going again. You can download it, explore it, and let it guide you as you embark on your own path to resilience through the transformative practice of art journaling. There's nothing I would like more than to see you do this and harness your own inner power and inner determination as you work through this process. I'd love for us to nurture our garden of resilience together. Let's tend to our inner flowers and watch them blossom into the most beautiful versions of ourselves. By acknowledging and celebrating the woman behind the princess, we give ourselves the permission to grow, to learn, and to become the resilient beings we were always meant to be. And here I go again, being more resilient, adding more drips, looking at this page again, thinking I've overworked it, I've overlayered it, and then reminding myself that there is no such thing, that there are always more layers, and that every layer just brings more beauty to the overall result. And that's, again, very much a metaphor for life and a metaphor for who we are. Here again, I thought I had messed this up. What's with all the black? Why is it so bold? But nothing is ever destroyed. Nothing is ever messed up for long. Not when you keep coming back to it. Not when you remind yourself that you just need to keep going. One step in front of another, one art supply after another, and it will all come together. This page has become one of my favorite pages that I have ever created, and I think a big part of it is because I was willing to keep showing up and keep pushing through. There was a time when I wouldn't have. I would have just convinced myself that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't have enough talent or skill, or that maybe I needed to take another class, or listen to another teacher, or get somebody else's advice. But now I just remind myself that everything I need is inside me, and that what I need most of all is just to keep showing up. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more art journaling videos. Until next time, happy journaling. And remember, you are resilient even when you don't think you are.